If you find yourself with a camera in your hand and want to learn how to use it, please subscribe to this channel, like the videos, comment below. Hey Photos family, today we are going over light modifiers and I'm going to show you what a grid spot looks like with our little umbrella strobe. It has a honeycomb pattern and there are other honeycomb style, but it's made to intensify the light within a given area without covering over that strobe. So you get the intensity of, in essence, the bare bulb, but you have the narrowing down of that, let's call it a selection of light rays. So to give you an illustration of what it looks like, this, as you can see through that honeycomb pattern, this is the grid spot, and that grid spot will, as I turn it away, narrow down the width of the spreading out of the light. It attaches to our umbrella strobe with each of these, see if I can get in close here and make sure they're lit. These little screws or bolts right here will tighten down onto the outer edge of our umbrella strobe. So the round nature fits over, make sure that there's a good snug fit over the front edge of the strobe. Right over here you see that, so that we have a connection to its solid frame without getting into the vents. Make sure it has a snug fit on the foredge of the umbrella strobe. Tighten down each bolt, making sure to go from one side to the next so that you're not over tightening one and under tightening the next. Now that it is attached and it's not going to easily fall off, you see you can turn it upside down a little bit like if you're familiar with a local restaurant and treat shop, Dairy Queen. You can turn it upside down and it doesn't fall out or fall off. Now the grid spot is a little bit loose. You can see here those connections on the corners will move a little bit. They might be a little bit tighter to start with, but as you use it, they'll loosen up a little bit. So just pay attention that they're squarely on the corners and fastened appropriately so it's not going to be easily pulled off and it's not going to slide around and fall off. Once you have the grid spot on, you'll notice as I turn this away that there will be a little bit of light coming through between the harness and the grid spot itself, but the important thing is whatever you're lighting over here directly in front of the strobe is specifically going to be lit with a direct contrast beam. Now I'm going to turn around and light the door behind me so that you can see just how narrowed the grid spot is. And I'm going to then, after that, give you a view of what the full strobe is taking that grid spot off. You can leave these harnesses on if you would like, and you can just have the quick connect or disconnect, because there are other modifiers, not just a grid spot, that can slide over, such as colored gels. We won't get into the colored gels today, but showing you what the grid spot does, let's demonstrate what it looks like with and without the grid spot. So here we go, test number one. Lighting that wreath there in the middle of the door. This is what it looks like with a grid spot on. And you see how there was a bright spot with the grid spot up in this top left corner of that wreath. Now, taking off this grid spot, we'll show you what it looks like without the grid spot and how broad and wide that light ray of the strobe looks in this whole setup. Now, also, I do want to make a note, because this strobe is going off, it's sending a signal through this optical communicator and receiver, and this softbox I have over here for the video is going off as well. I believe that this umbrella strobe that I have over here lighting this other side of me is going off as well. Let me just test that for a second. Yep, so I've got 3 lights right now. Wow, my eyes. I looked at it a little bit too closely. All right, so that's another thing. Don't look directly into your light strobes. It's always a temptation for everybody. I think it's a human nature thing. We want to see if really it's working and make sure that it's that specific unit we're seeing and not any others. But with that optical communicator, you can see I don't have anything tethered together, and you just have to take my word for it that these other 2 are just connecting via that optical sensor. So with that handy application for this optical sensor, you don't have to have these cords and cables that you can trip over. you can use the optical sensor to tie everything together, and they actuate at the same split second so that your camera is getting the light that it needs at the time that the shutter is actuated to open. All right, so you got a little bit of a view there as I demonstrate here again, pointing my umbrella strobe here at the wreath and doing a test how broad that light really is instead of being narrowed down by the grid spot. So you still see that there was a slight upper left corner of the wreath that was lit because the flash bulb, the strobe ring in there, is a little bit narrowed, and it has that reflector in the back of it to help direct the light in that direction. However, if you noticed, just with the camera's view or your naked eye, that the light was much more spread out. There wasn't a narrowing of it, there wasn't a condensing of it. And that's the difference between the grid spot and the quote bare bulb strobe expression of that light. Thank you so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up for the content that has added value to your shooting and adding light to your photographs. Give us a comment down below of what you really liked and what you began to see through a demonstration. And if you're not yet a subscriber, we'd love to have your subscription and join our Photos family. Thank you so much. God bless.